Minister called it a sad indictment of consumer society, and he pledged to take action. Also on the programme, looking good for July's unlocking, but with hospital cases on the rise, the PM is making absolutely no promises. COVID at the Euros. One Scotland star is out after testing positive, while 2 England players are isolating. And
look, one card actually comes straight out, which is your Jag of Heart.
The teenage trickster turned online superstar with more than 1 billion views.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. Well, we start tonight with an ITV News investigation into millions of brand new and unused items simply being thrown away by Amazon. As the internet giant launches its Prime Day for UK customers, we can reveal that items like Dyson fans and Hoovers, even MacBooks and iPads are being deliberately destroyed. Some other products are taken to landfill sites because they haven't been sold. Now, Amazon has defended its business model, insisting that it is now working towards zero waste. But tonight, the Prime Minister tells ITV News it is a sad indictment of consumer society, and he says the government will look at the issue. Here's Richard Pallow with our exclusive report.
This is one of Amazon's biggest UK warehouses in Dunfermline, Scotland. And from inside where millions of perfectly good products each year are sent to be destroyed. Secret footage captured in what's known as the destruction zone, and that calls into question the company's environmental and ethical practices. An ITV News investigation reveals unsold laptops scanned not for delivery, but instead marked destroy. Boxes full of electrical items such as drills, shavers, headphones, even smart TVs. The list goes on. Brand new books still in their wrappers, or jewellery or steel cutlery with that same instruction: destroy. One former employee who wishes to remain anonymous reveals the scale of what they're asked to do.
So from a Friday to a Friday, our target was approximately 130,000 items a week.
The target to destroy from one centre was 130,000 items.
Yes.
And how did that make you feel when you knew that?
I gasped. There's no rhyme or reason to what gets destroyed. Dyson fans, Hoovers, the occasional MacBook or iPad. Or the other day, 20 bins filled with thousands of COVID masks still in their plastic wrappers. Overall, I'd say 50% of all items seem to be unopened and still in their shrink wrap. The other half are returns, but in good condition.
Undercover filming shows a manager's spreadsheet from April at the Dunfermline depot. 124,000 items to destroy that week. Now, Amazon does donate to charity, but over the same period, that figure was just 27,000. The longer goods remain unsold, the more a vendor is charged to store them until it often becomes uneconomical. So they're loaded onto pallets, again marked destroy, before leaving the warehouse in lorries that we tracked to see where they went. Well, we followed this lorry from the Amazon fulfillment centre with those items marked electrical destroy, and this is where it is going to a waste management centre around an hour away. Behind the tarpaulin, the huge amount of unwanted goods are revealed. We watched as the pallets were removed one by one. Several such loads can leave the depot every day. Separately, we followed another lorry as it headed out carrying non-electrical items. Its destination, a landfill site. Only a few miles from where they'd been stored, and in the main, still perfectly usable. Recently, Amazon's UK boss, who at the time was not aware of our investigation, did admit this to us.
So how much of the stock in your warehouses ends up being destroyed?
I'm afraid I don't have
Is it very much?
that number with me. It would be extremely small.
We showed our findings to the environmental campaigners, Greenpeace.
It's just an unimaginable amount of unnecessary waste. Each of these items requires natural resources and carbon emissions and human labour to make. That is why, as long as Amazon's business model relies on this kind of disposal culture, they're just going to expand, things are only going to get worse.
And now the Prime Minister is promising to investigate.
Well, it sounds incredible to me, and an indictment of a consumerist society if it's as you say. We'll look into it. Obviously, we don't like stuff going to landfill under any circumstances.
Come November, the UK will host the largest ever climate conference in Glasgow, just 40 miles over the water there. Both countries and companies have much to work on.
I mean, it's just shocking. It's astonishing. It's wrong, isn't it?
Well,
What does Amazon say?
Well, the important thing to say is the world's biggest online retailer isn't actually doing anything illegal here. Indeed, they told us in a statement that we're working towards a goal of zero product disposal. And our priority is to resell, to donate to charitable organisations or recycle any unsold products. No items are sent to landfill in the UK as a last resort. We will send items to energy recovery. Now, we did see Amazon's goods arriving at a landfill site. Exactly what happened to them there is a bit of a grey area. We don't know because it's on such a mass scale. What we do know is that the UK produces more electronic waste than pretty much any other country in the world. It's because we buy cheaper and we buy more often. And the government may have to look at emulating France. There they have a law where they make it illegal to send any unsold non-food products to waste. It's all about redistribution.
Rich, thank you. Well, there is lots more on our investigation on our website, including how we uncovered Amazon's practices, and that is at itv.com/news. And the Prime Minister says it is still looking good, as he put it, for the lifting of further COVID restrictions in England in July, and that is despite infections and hospital admissions continuing to rise. There was a hint, too, that people who've had both doses of vaccine may be able to benefit from greater freedoms, such as holidays abroad. Here's our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan.
If the final unlocking had happened, there would have been quite a party at Heaven nightclub, but it didn't.
At midnight, there was no removal of the tables, there was no removal of the chairs, there was no removal of social distancing.
The owner is open to some kind of vaccine passports, so long as they're government regulated. Do you think knowing your customers had 2 vaccinations would help you in reopening here?
It's very hard, for example, when they put in a guideline, and it's a guideline, because customers won't listen to you. It really needs to be strict rules.
And today the Prime Minister confirmed that from self-isolation to travel quarantine, the rules could potentially be changed for the fully vaccinated.
I think it's very important that we look at the opportunities for all of us over the coming months from 2 jabs. We're one of the most vaccinated countries in the world now.
Nearly 60% of adults have had 2 jabs and more than 80% have had 1. Amongst today's recipients, travel is a big motivator.
Oh, God, I've been waiting so long. I've cancelled so many holidays. So as soon as I can go, I will be going.
It'd be nice to eventually travel to see my family again.
I just want to be sat on the beach, Spain. Yeah, really want to go on holiday.
But the virus is taking off too. More than 68,000 people tested positive in the last 7 days, up more than 30% on the previous week. There have been more than 1,400 hospital admissions in the latest period, a near 40% increase.
We're still in the grips of a very unforgiving Delta variant with quite difficult data in terms of rising cases, rising hospitalisations.
Which is perhaps why, despite all the speculation, the numbers limit on weddings is the only significant relaxation that has actually come into force today. Carl Dinnan, ITV News.
Nicola Sturgeon has said she has a responsibility to keep Scotland safe after she was criticised for banning travel to parts of the northwest of England. The First Minister, who was today getting her second vaccine dose, defended her decision after criticisms from the Mayor of Greater Manchester. The rules prevent non-essential travel between Scotland and Manchester and Salford. Well, both England and Scotland's preparations for their final Euro group games have been hit by coronavirus. The young Scottish star Billy Gilmore tested positive and is now isolating. And tonight it was announced that 2 England players are also isolating after coming into contact with Gilmore. And that all comes ahead of their deciding matches tomorrow night. Well, in a moment, our sports editor Steve Scott will have the latest on England. But first, Garrett Vincent reports from the Scottish camp.
Scotland's men may be 1 game away from making history and qualifying for the knockout stages of a major tournament, but at training this morning a star player was missing. Confined to his room is the young midfielder Billy Gilmore, required to self-isolate after testing positive for COVID-19.
He's announced himself on the world stage, and then the COVID gets hold of him, and yeah, it's difficult. I'm sure he's gutted, we're gutted, but we've got to move on. We've got a massive game tomorrow, and one we need to win.
Gilmore was the man of the match in Scotland's draw with England on Friday night, a performance which helped to keep alive Scotland's hopes of staying in the tournament. His positive test means he'll miss tomorrow's game against Croatia and, should Scotland go through, the next game in the last 16.
Protocols being followed, but Billy Gilmore's self-isolation is a terrible disappointment for him and for this tournament. A huge young talent missing out on a chance to represent his country when it really counts.
It just seems to be typical of Scotland. In the 23-year wait we've had to qualify for Europe, a new star appears and then he gets the dreaded COVID. So we're back to almost the square one. We will need a solid performance, and perhaps more than Billy Gilmore, we need somebody to score a goal or 2.
Staging a football tournament in a pandemic was always going to be difficult. The need to control infection a priority over players' ambitions and fans' hopes. Garrett Vincent, ITV News, Glasgow.
The whole England squad may have tested negative, but tonight, as a precaution, both Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell are isolating after close contact with Billy Gilmore. An unwanted headache for Gareth Southgate as he approaches such an important game.
We have to accept we're in the situation we are, and we're abiding by all of the regulations, and at the moment that's why the 2 boys are having to isolate until we have more information and confirmation of where we stand.
The fans were unimpressed by England last time out. More urgency and more adventure is what they're calling for.
If you look at the Scotland game, they were very, very compact and very, very good at closing off gaps. But if you manage to break them down, you've got to do it very, very quickly. And I don't think we did that.
A win tomorrow, and England will likely face France, Germany or Portugal at Wembley on Tuesday week. A draw means either Spain, Poland, Sweden or Slovakia in Copenhagen. If they lose, they could still qualify, but if they did, that match would definitely not be at Wembley.
After their showing against Scotland, England have slipped down the bookies' list of likely champions, but they are still favourites to top the group, and a convincing win against the Czech Republic would no doubt see expectations rocket once again.
But after tonight's COVID scare, even Gareth Southgate doesn't yet know whether or not he'll have a full squad to choose from. Steve Scott, ITV News, Wembley.
And you can watch England's game against the Czech Republic tomorrow at 8 p.m. on ITV. And Scotland's game versus Croatia is on at the same time on ITV4 and STV. Still to come in the ITV Evening News, why this New Zealander will make history at the Olympics. Plus,
keep watching if you want to see some magic.
The teenager who's become a global online star. Those stories and more after the break. Join me then.
Every day in our July draws, your summer could start with a £30,000 win.
Oh, I'm going to make a lot of people happy.
And in one lucky postcode area, every player will win a share of £3.1 million.
Oh my God!
Join before midnight on the 24th of June for a summer of celebrations.
Someone's knocking at the door, someone's ringing the bell. Singing's not that great, but hey.
Someone's knocking at the door, somebody's ringing the bell.
I'm busy, busy, busy doing nothing. Doing nothing, that's the life for me.
With zero carbon electricity at zero extra cost, we're busy helping cut UK carbon emissions to nothing.
Hi Jasmine, it's your brother here. I'm sending a little money home
also help that dream of yours become a reality.
When you send money, you send more than money. Download our app and send to bank accounts, mobile wallets, or for cash pickup. Western Union.
Meet Daisy, the teenager who loves hand-me-downs. That jacket from her older sister, and those jeans from her auntie. A scoop of Vanish whites in every wash gets rid of stains, odours, and helps keep whites from turning grey over time. Keeping clothes looking great, making those hand-me-downs easier to love. Clothes live longer with Vanish.
Hello and welcome back. The mother of a young man who was killed riding his electric scooter is calling for greater regulation as she warned others about the dangers. 20-year-old Shakur Pinnock died after a crash with a motorist in Wolverhampton. His girlfriend was riding with him and was also seriously injured. Shakur's mother, Celine, spoke to Sejal Karia.
He was an aspiring rapper, his mum said, who loved life. 3 days ago, Shakur Pinnock died after his e-scooter collided with a car. He was just 20.
Shakur was fun-loving, caring, giving, forgiving, loved life, innocent.
He'd spent a week on a life support machine with serious head injuries. His girlfriend Shantae, who'd been a passenger on the scooter, is also still in hospital. She was taken to see him so she could hold his hand. He died just days later. Shakur's mum had been praying for a miracle, hoping he'd pull through.
I was beseeching and pleading to the doctor, please do not turn off the machines or anything. And then he looked at me and he says, I'm not giving Shaki time. I'm giving you time.
The crash happened on a Saturday afternoon on this road in Wolverhampton. The car driver, who wasn't injured, isn't under arrest and is helping officers with their inquiries. But Shakur is now the second person known to have died riding an e-scooter in the UK. Despite privately owned e-scooters being illegal on public roads, only rentals as part of government trials are permitted and then not on pavements. Celine wants more regulation and is warning riders about their use.
Because he sustained so much brain injury, definitely headwear or what you call a helmet should be mandatory.
Celine says she doesn't want anyone to go through what she has. Sejal Karia, ITV News, Wolverhampton.
The Tokyo Olympics has been hit by yet more controversy a month before it's due to start. The weightlifter Laurel Hubbard will be the Games' first transgender athlete after being selected by New Zealand. Now, she says she is grateful and humbled, but as Sangeeta Lal reports, others are questioning whether she has an unfair advantage.
She's among the top-ranked athletes in the world for female weightlifters. Already winning medals at international events, now she has the chance to do the same at the Tokyo Olympics.
Laurel Hubbard is now a member of the New Zealand team to Tokyo. She is our first Olympian who has transitioned from male to female.
This announcement, though, has sparked a debate about transgender athletes competing against other women. Former Olympians have spoken out on Twitter. Today, Sharon Davis said, "We have men and women separate competition for a big reason. Biology in sport matters." And Chris Tomlinson also criticised the decision, saying, "This is unfair. People need to have common sense, not be cowards, and stand up for women's sport." Laurel Hubbard's selection, though, falls in line with current regulations. Rules to allow transgender athletes to compete changed in 2004, as long as they measured certain levels of testosterone. For other transgender sportswomen, this is a chance to be represented at the highest levels of sport for the first time.
When you can't see a path to where you want to get to, it's so easy to feel discouraged and give up and talk yourself out of trying in the first place. Whereas for the vast majority of people in society, that's never an issue, because they'll always look up and see people who look like them.
But next month, Laurel Hubbard may change all of that, preparing to make history at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Sangeeta Lal, ITV News.
Well, officials in Tokyo have announced that up to 10,000 fans for each venue will be allowed at the Olympic events. The fixed limits will be 50% of a venue's capacity, but organisers warned the competition could move behind closed doors if COVID infections surge. And finally tonight, it may appear hard to believe, but one teenager from Oldham has become the UK's top YouTuber. Self-taught magician Dan Rhodes has millions of followers and billions of views. He showed Juliet Bremner how he's simply magic.
So we're going to take this card. Now watch it very carefully.
Creating his magic at the kitchen table. Dan Rhodes feeds an insatiable appetite for his tricks from his family home in Oldham. The crazy brick trick was viewed 165 million times when the 17-year-old posted it a few months ago. Dan still can't quite believe how popular he's become.
I thought maybe I could get 1 million, that was the dream. But to think that I'm on like 5 mil now, less than a year later, is just insane to me.
He's entirely self-taught, cheerfully admitting to a misspent childhood.
So you can type in how to do magic on YouTube and you'll get a bunch of, results, and that's how I actually learn all of my tricks, just from going on YouTube and just spending hours and hours and hours. I had no social life when I was a kid. Instead of going outside and playing with friends, I was just sat in front of a computer learning magic tricks. Are you ready? 3, 2...
As a 15-year-old, Dan appeared on Britain's Got Talent. He got to saw Amanda Holden in half, but didn't make the finals. Partly because his magic seems especially suited to social media.
So the tricks that I do, sometimes I'm not even talking in them. Just the clarity is very, simple and anyone can understand.
But he's proving simple can still be best.
You said the Jack of Hearts, correct? Watch. Just going to go like this. See how the cards start to move slightly? Watch, we'll go again. Look, they move a bit more. Look, one card actually comes straight out, which is your Jack of Hearts.
There's a constant demand for new content. Dan produces 5 tricks a day to keep his millions of fans clicking on his distinctive brand of magic.
Just like magic.
Juliet Bremner, ITV News, Oldham.
One to watch. That's it for now. Tom's at 10 from me and all the team. Bye-bye.